I'm an engineer. My background is in engineering, mechanical engineering. I am also a project manager. Skydiving, I've done that one. Like bungee jumping, done that one. Like swimming with the sharks, I've done that one. So I feel like that's a good balance, right? I support a number of STEM projects when it comes to pre-collegiate students, exposing them to what it's like to be a STEM professional, creating those opportunities.
Welcome everyone, my name is Timon Thomas, co-founder of Global Ed Recruiting, and today I'm excited to have this conversation with Kimberley Telemacque. She is a project manager, she's also a community leader and an artist. And today we're just going to talk about her journey and her educational journey as an international student here in the United States. So welcome Kimberley, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Timon. Thank you for having me.
So you're out in the United States, in where? Indiana you are? Where exactly are you?
Yes, correct. I'm in Indiana right now, city Indianapolis.
Ah,
Correct.
okay. So I guess after you left Texas, you decided, all right, I'm just gonna go explore the US and find a job somewhere else, or is that how it worked?
Actually, after I left Texas, then I moved to Florida. And then I left Florida and then I moved to Indianapolis. And then I left Indianapolis. I lived in Darlington in the UK for 6 months. And then I came back to Indianapolis. Yeah, so it's been a little journey.
That's quite a journey, I must say. So I really like to start conversations with the first question being, can you tell me who you are and what it is that you do right now?
So, who am I? There are a lot of different aspects to who's Kimberly. So, I'm an engineer. My background is in engineering, mechanical engineering. I am also a project manager right now. I lead a variety of projects when it comes to ensuring the organization is compliant, ensuring that we're following industry standards. Previously, I supported the cybersecurity team as well. I am also a community leader where I get a lot of passion, a lot of excitement, a lot of joy, satisfaction from giving back. So I support a number of STEM projects when it comes to pre-collegiate students, exposing them to what it's like to be a STEM professional, creating those opportunities. Um, uh, in addition to that, I support quite a number of equal opportunity projects in the community. And I do art, so I'm an artist as well. I do canvas paintings, charcoal drawings, resin art, mixed media art. Um, and if you put all of that together, that's Kimberly.
Wow. That's a very large portfolio of things that you do. And I'm sure we're going to get into some of the details of the different things that you do. But I first want to kind of explore where Kimberly was formed and how she became who she is today. Because I think, there are a lot of times you grow up and because of particular experiences, it kind of shaped the person that you are today and what you're passionate about. So, can you tell me a little more about your upbringing? I know you're from Dominica, the beautiful island of Dominica, but can you share a bit more about how you grew up as a child, maybe even your childhood journey into the educational world and what that was like, and then your decision to come out to the United States?
Sure. So I am from Dominica, as you just said. My island is beautiful. A lot of mountains, rivers, valleys, waterfalls. My particular community is called Trafalgar, so I'm from Trafalgar. I would say I was always good at math growing up, right? So I'm the last of five, right? So I was always good at math growing up, and I always did art from the time I was a little girl. I'll be doing my little drawings from little girl. And when it came to mathematics, I really enjoy the fact that you could have the same answer, but get it in so many different ways, right? So there's no one way for you to get that answer. I really enjoyed that. And I continued developing my skills in that area. And I decided to do physics because back home in the Caribbean, there's forms, right? So by the time you're in third form, you need to like choose whether you're gonna do physics, chemistry, bio. I wanted to do physics and I did it, and I was also very good at physics. So what I decided to do was combine those two aspects. Good at math, good at physics. Okay, what can you do with that? So I knew that engineering would have been a pathway for me. And that's what I decided to do when I came to the US, right? So back home, you have like your 2 year college, right? Your associate degree. I decided to focus on mathematics back home and psychology as well because I like working with people in addition to working with numbers. So I did that back home. And then I came here to the States. My major was mechanical engineering. And I initially wanted to do a double major with math as well, because I've been loving math, right? I've been loving math.
Hmm.
However, I decided to just do it as a minor because if you're majoring in engineering, you probably have one or two more classes to do, and you're a math minor automatically.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so that's what my educational background is like. I also taught high school math back home. So I worked with what form? Like fourth form, fifth formers, where you get that one-on-one opportunity to have an impact on someone's life. And not just one person's life, but like a group of students. I did that back home, came here to the States. I also tutored math whilst I did my degree on campus and also outside of campus as well. And I would say that when I came to the States, I'm from the Caribbean and I realized that you're in a new territory, right? You need to open up a bit more and get to know about different cultures, meet different people, network, learn from their experiences because that would also help you on your own journey. Because you're from the Caribbean, you know everything about the Caribbean, all right? You were born there, you were raised there, you know what it's like. So now you're in a new space. I feel like what has helped me is knowing when to open up and allow different people, different experiences to have an influence and impact on my future goals, right? And I think that is important. Having that diverse perspective on how you could succeed professionally, personally, socially. I think having that diversity is really good. So that I would say, Timon, would be like my professional background, educational background, and with the art aspect of it, I never stopped doing art. So as I grew older, I taught myself different techniques. I taught myself how to use different art mediums and have expanded in that area as well, where I now have like paint sessions, like paint and sip sessions. I do it at work, I do it outside of work, where you have a group of people all painting with you and you're instructing them as to what do you do first, what do you do next, how do you blend the colors. I participate in art exhibitions as well. I sell my paintings to like employees here, to people from different states. I ship them across America if anybody wants a customized piece. I've even like shipped them back home as well. So I do international shipping for my art as well. So I would say that's my journey in that area.
Okay, okay. I must say it's very interesting. And one of the things that stood out, well, there are a couple of things, but I first want to talk about the fact that you mentioned that you knew that mechanical engineering would be a path for you. Now, at what age did you know about mechanical engineering? Or did someone introduce you to it? Did you come across a particular session that mentioned it? How did you even get in your mind that you could be a mechanical engineer?
That's a good question. So, no, back home, I didn't per se know like mechanical engineering is what I wanted to do specifically, right? Um, but when it came to like coming to America, right, and deciding what you wanna major in, I thought to myself, and I also got advice as well from other industry leaders that it might not be ideal, right, to do a major like in one specific field, like one specific area, like just major in chemistry, or just major in bio, just major in math, because I wanted to just major in math, right? But in order for you to not just limit yourself, but have more opportunities, I thought it would be good to do something probably with math in it, like engineering. And then I researched, did my own research to figure out what kinds of engineering majors are out there, right? You have civil engineering, you have chemical engineering, you have all these different kinds. And I read up on it, I did my research and figured out which one best aligns with my interests, my goals, and I initially wanted to do civil engineering because remember I said I like drawing, designing structures. So I would have chosen civil engineering. However, the university that I was accepted into, Midwestern State University, did not offer civil engineering. So that's how I ended up doing mechanical engineering. Yes.
Okay, okay. So it seems as if you're a proactive person. You're someone who's going to find information. You're not necessarily relying on someone to tell you exactly what to do or exactly which direction to head. But you did your own research and you found
Yes.
mechanical engineering.
Mhm. Yeah. And when you're doing the research as well to figure out what major you want to do, you also want to know like, okay, if you study that, how many years are you invested in that education, right? What's the cost to have an engineering degree in that field? Also, if you graduate with that degree, what's your pay gonna be like? You have to think about all those things as well.
Yeah, that's important because I mean, obviously, you're not doing a degree just for the fun of it. I mean, some
Yeah,
people do, but we're not trying to do that as international students specifically because you're trying to think of how employable you're going to be after you through with your degree, what opportunities are available, where can you work, all of those types of things. So
exactly.
choosing those, yeah, go ahead.
No, with you saying that, right, just brought something to my mind. And as an international student, you need to also figure out, yeah, like what degree, like for mechanical engineering, for STEM, you have like 3 years OPT, right? And then you could renew that OPT. If you do something else, I don't know, like business, finance, accounting, you have limited amount of time that you could work after you graduate, right? So all those things you have to take into consideration as well. And also, if I chose, let's say, aerospace engineering, right? It would be difficult, or would I even say just difficult? They don't in America. They don't hire internationals to like work in those kinds of spaces when you deal with like airplanes, because you need like all the security clearance and all these things. You have to be a citizen for you to even work in those spaces. But let's say you do that as a your major, right? Likely you might not get a job in that field. So knowing what kind of engineering you want to do is also important, right? So aerospace engineering might not be ideal. You might not get a job in that field just because you're international.
Hmm.
So when you're thinking of where to invest your money to go to school, think of that too. Where are you going to get that job,
Yeah,
right? And also, I think it would be important to know, like, probably what certifications might be needed, right? Like a PE, professional engineer, right? I think the PE is professional engineer. If I have that right. Yeah. Just like you have the FE, fundamentals of engineering. Like you have certain certifications that you would need based on how high you would want to go with that degree in your position, right? Because I think for you to like sign off on certain, let's say contract, let's say you're building a bridge, right? You need a specific certification to go with that. And you're liable for if anything happens to that bridge. Your license could be taken away from you if anything happens to that bridge. So these are all things that you need to like be aware of when you're thinking of what degree you want to do. And even if you know it's engineering you want to do, knowing what kind of engineering is important to do your research on that. Yeah.
that's good information because sometimes people think, well, the degree is all I need, and then I'll be able to get the job that I want, or that's the end of the road for me, or something like that. But there's always certifications that you can acquire in order to be more. qualified for certain positions, and it then offers you the benefit of having a little more than the person who just has a degree. So that's a critical thing that you just mentioned. So I'm glad you mentioned that. And also something you mentioned too was OPT. Just for people who are not aware, OPT means optional practical training. So it's the opportunity to remain in the US after you're through with your education to possibly get a job. So it's kind of like a work permit in a way. And STEM students, science, technology, engineering, and math students, have the added benefit of having the option of possibly extending to 3 years of working, where the typical student who didn't do a STEM degree may only be able to work for 1 year and then have to return to their country. So it's important to know these little things because it definitely could shape, your future and the decisions that you make when you choose to study. So to move the conversation along, so you talked about the fact that you did mechanical engineering, then you minored in math. Um, so I think you kind of mentioned this, but I want to focus a little more on it. You said that while you were doing mechanical engineering, you were able to acquire your minor degree only just by taking a few more classes in math. So could you explain that to the person who's listening and is not aware of how university works, and how can you just get a minor if you just take a couple classes where in some situations you needed to take like 16 credits or whatever. So how does that work?
So, first off, being not just being from Dominica, however, attending my college back home, right, the Dominica State College, it's an accredited college. So I got, and remember, I am majored in math, right? So my associate degree, I have that in math. So all the classes that I did back home was transferred here when I moved to the US. So I didn't have to do like pre-cal when I came here. Um, I also didn't have to do calculus 1 when I came here. So I started with calc 2 when I came here, I believe. I started with calc 2. Um, and it's a very intense course, I will tell you. Very intense. And then you have Calc 3. So for a whole semester, you're going to be doing Calculus 2. For Calc is a short term for it. Then for another whole semester, you're going to be doing Calculus 3. Then you have differential equations to take as well. And these are very heavy courses, right? A lot of content in there, complex information in there. It's a lot. So with you investing in those courses, right? Those classes, that takes you up to like your 4 years that you're in college, right? And if you want to minor in math, you would need, let's say, pre-calc, which I already did back in Dominica. You need calculus one, which I already got transferred in from doing it back home. You need calculus two, which I did just because it's part of my engineering major. Right? To get an engineering degree, you need these courses because engineering is like half math. Calc 3 is part of my engineering degree as well. So it's easy to get a math minor because you're already doing all these courses as an engineering major. Whereas if I, let's say, was not an engineering major, let's say I did, I don't know, social sciences probably, and if I wanted to minor in math, that might take me maybe an extra 2 years to maybe do, because in addition to my social sciences classes, I would now need to do Calc 1 outside of my plan, do Calc 2, Calc 3 outside of my actual social sciences curriculum. So that's all. I was able to have a math minor whilst being an engineering major.
Okay, that makes sense. So basically, you're saying a lot of the classes that you would need in order to be eligible for earning a minor, you basically did those as part of your engineering degree. So, and then you had the credits that you transferred from Dominica State College that was able to substitute for those classes that you needed to take.
Correct.
All right, good. So, I do want to ask a question that might be a little touchy in a way. I worked in a university system and I've come across, like females and young women who tell me sometimes it's difficult to be in an engineering class because you know it's not necessarily very female dominated. There's a lot of guys in those types of classes. So can you just share, because I think it's important for maybe other young ladies who are listening to this interview to not be despondent, but also to know what to expect.
Mhm.
So can you just share what it was like being a female in the mechanical engineering program? Because I'm assuming that they weren't a host of other females, if I'm correct.
Yes, correct. So I would say being a female in the engineering program, yeah, there's not a lot of other females in your classes. You might have some classes where you might be the only female, right, based on when you're taking it. However, you're all getting credit for the same class. You, as a woman, and that 10 other guys that's in your group, you're all getting the same credits, man or woman, right? So I get it that sometimes it might feel intimidating being the only woman. However, with my experience, being a woman, you also do the same exams and you're graded the same way. Being a woman, you could raise your hand in class and ask a question without somebody looking at you funny. Being a woman, you could go to the professor during office hours to get more help. Being a woman, you could also plan to meet up with your other guy classmates to study for an exam, right? Because we're all getting the same credits for the course. So I would say to an international student who might be going to do a course where women don't we don't fill up the space a whole lot. I would say like don't feel discouraged because you are one among few. Use that to like use that to stand out, right? Like damn, I'm in this space as a woman, as an only woman. Look at me, wow. So I think yeah, use it as a form of encouragement and motivation, that you can even inspire others to do it too, not really as a form of like, feeling intimidated.
Yeah, that's good advice. And you know, like sometimes because people don't see examples, and that's why it's important to talk to people like you. Because if people don't see examples of women who are doing it like you did, it's a little more hard for them to imagine, you know, them being in that situation. So I'm glad that you decided to speak about it and, you know, even to answer that question in a very honest way, because we want young women to also dream about being the engineers that, you know, the typically are dominated in guy spaces. So, yeah, dream and you can do it even if you're not male because, you know, sometimes we feel intimidated. So I'm really happy that you're able to speak on that. I know you as someone who's like, in my interactions with you, you came across as a very open person. Um, you meet someone who like they're just easy to just get along with. You were just one of those
Yeah.
people who was like, I just met Kimberly as if I felt like if I knew Kimberly for 20 years before, even if she was from Dominica, I'm from Grenada. And it was just like this automatic, like, you know, like connection out of
Yeah.
nowhere. So can you tell me about like, you know, how you think your openness, because you did speak a little bit about it in the very beginning, but how your openness to interacting with people of different cultures, different backgrounds, different countries, for instance, you didn't just stick to, you know, being with Dominicans only or Caribbean people only. You extended your wings beyond that. So
Yes.
can you tell me how much you think that was important in your success and how it affects you now, being able to move to all these different states and countries and then still being able to work and function in different groups?
Um, I would say probably starting with my art, right? Because when I do art, you create it in a way where you have an idea of what you want your art to look like, but then it's open for other people to give their own interpretations, right? So in like real life, I come as myself, right? And I'm very much open to get feedback from different people, similar to how they would give different feedback about like what that art means to them, right? Very much open to sort of color my life, right? Color my life. And what I mean by that is you're inviting people from different races, different backgrounds, different religions to be part of your space, right? And I'm connecting it to my art because when I do my art, I want different colors. I want it to be vibrant, different shapes, right? Different sizes. And that's really like what I do in life too, right? Um, I have friends who are Muslims. My best friend is a Muslim, actually. I have mentors who are not anything looking like me at all, right? And they advocate for you in like spaces that you don't even know about, right? I feel like it's very important to have that open mind, right? And step away from your comfort zone. Because if you only stay within your comfort zone, what are you going to really learn, right? Um, so what has it done for me and my career? It has done a lot, right? When I came to America, I knew that it was needed to network, right? Because when you network, you learn about opportunities that you never really knew about before, right? When you network, you probably go into spaces that might be uncomfortable for you, but you know that people have done it before. So it gives you the encouragement to do it too. When you network as an international student, right, you also get to know what somebody else might be experiencing who's not from the Caribbean, right? And how, let's say, the H-1B process might go for them because they're Indian, right? Because you know it's a long time for them. You learn about these different things. And in your career, you might have somebody who, let's say, might say, hey, Kim, there's a role that's open in cybersecurity. I know that you've expressed your interest there. I know that this role is open. Are you wanting to apply for it, right? And that person could be someone you just spoke to outside of your circle of friends, right? But because they saw your interest in stepping out of that zone, they're like, okay, let me give that person a shot to see if that's something they're interested in, right? Having mentors as well from different backgrounds, I feel is important, right? Whether it's a white woman, whether it's an Asian man, right? Whether it's someone who even might have a disability, right? You could learn from them. Because I recently went to this sweet conference and there was this talk about ensuring that the workplace is inclusive, right? Because you might be, let's say, having a hard time with some team members, right? But you don't even know why. Because if you don't have any friends who are differently abled, you don't even know how to really accommodate these kinds of people. So if you only stick to one kind, your kind, people who look like you, talk like you, act like you, you're limiting yourself. So to answer your question, being that open, right, to receive feedback, to get input from different people has shaped my life, my career, my social life in a lot of ways that I never knew it would. However, I had an idea that I want something different and better to happen for me outside of what I already know. So I took that leap of faith to try to just put myself out there. And it has done quite a lot for me, even being here to talk to you about this right now, Timon.
So thank you very much for sharing that answer because I think it was very insightful and it was definitely one of those things that I think people need to be open to. You know, going outside of your box, it's very important. So you moved along. How would you describe your educational journey as? I know you mentioned that some of these classes are heavy. They're, and by heavy, I think you mean like it could be a little difficult. It's not a walk in the park, right? So how would you describe overall your university experience, like your educational experience? I'm assuming that there must have been some ups and downs and times when you may feel a little doubt or times when you question like,
Yeah.
wait, is that the right thing I chose? Or I should have chosen something different. Or, I'm sure I could have just gone through university and it would have been easier if I just did some other major. So can you describe that the ebbs and flows of university and what to expect and maybe how emotionally it can be a roller coaster?
Um, yeah, emotionally, mentally, it can be a roller coaster, right? It will be a roller coaster because it's something new. You haven't done it before, right? So it will be a roller coaster for you, but I feel like leveraging the resources that are available to you would definitely help. What I mean by that is, okay, yes, your classes, there's a lot of requirements, right? Sleepless nights. You have to wake up early to get ready to go to school. Like you have to study, study, study. Because if you don't pass this exam and you fail it, you fail the course, then you have to take it again. And sometimes you have to wait the next year for you to take it again. So yeah, it will be hard. But that's when at least you one take advantage of like tutoring sessions that the school offers.
Mm-hmm.
Two, at least know about the international department at your school because they could provide resources for you that you're not even aware about, right? Probably even scholarships they could tell you about that could help you as an international student to lower your budget for your classes, right? Also, if you have how should I say it? Like sports, right? If there are different groups you want to be part of, you have the gym that can help you release some stress, right? That you'll be experiencing by studying so many hours every day, every night. Go do a little 30-minute workout in the gym, right? That might help you to focus better. We have different groups like CISO, Caribbean Student Organization. You have these kinds of groups where you have community there, you have people there who have done it before, and they're there to support you. So make sure like you tap into those resources so you're not doing it alone. Because yeah, it's hard. It's gonna be hard, but there's a balance when you again take advantage of what's available to you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that would be my advice.
Well, and that's great advice. I don't even think I need to add anything to that. That's superb advice. So you went through all of that experience, and then you finally graduated. How did your parents and your siblings felt, knowing that all right, we have a mechanical engineer in our midst?
Oh wow, it was a good moment. They felt very proud, right? That because I'm the last, so their last daughter has been done it for school and graduated. The only thing is that it was during COVID, so no one could really travel to like come celebrate. But I did take like pictures because you wanna at least have a memory, right? And share with my family. So they were very excited and felt like, damn, okay, that's a huge accomplishment for the family. But they just couldn't be present with me to celebrate it. But that's okay because it's COVID, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so my mom, my dad, my sisters, my brother, they were happy to know that I got done.
Okay. All right. And then so after you were done, and as you said, you graduated at a time when we weren't sure what was going to happen. The world was kind of like in chaos, and we
Yeah.
don't know, like, well, would I be able to find a job? People are not necessarily hiring right now because people are actually laying off people. So, what was your approach at that time? What did you decide to do?
So at that time, I already had like an internship right before I graduated. And after I graduated, I was like hired as a full-time employee. So I knew I had a job, right? However, again, taking that leap of faith, right? However, I sometimes you have to trust your own gut and do what makes you happy. So it's listen, so it's COVID time, right? You don't know where the world is gonna go. Agreed. I have a full-time job in Texas. However, I wasn't too much of a fan of Texas, right? So I knew I wanted to. like move out of Texas, despite of the fact that I know it might be hard out there during COVID looking for a job. But I took that leap of faith and I networked with people that I didn't know, right? I did that. I put myself out there. I had the hope, like, damn, something good will happen. Sometimes you have to say it into existence. Sometimes you have to believe in yourself, right? And I actually landed a job during COVID outside of Texas, and it was even going to be a remote job as well until it's time to move to the office.
Hmm.
And that I took that opportunity and I moved out of Texas during COVID, started my new role remotely. And I say that to let people know that, yeah, you might know that things will be rough, right? But it doesn't hurt trying. Because if it was COVID and I'd be like, okay, let me just stay put. Okay, staying put, what does that do for me? I don't know what else is out there if I just stay put. Sometimes what's out there is even bigger and better than what you're comfortable with right now. So that's my advice.
Okay. All right. Always the one to be willing to explore and take a risk. Always. So let's change gears a bit. So in terms of your community work and stuff like that, can you describe a little more about what it is you do? Because I learned that you basically work with pursuing students who might be willing to pursue certain areas of expertise like cybersecurity and a bunch of other areas. So can you just give a bit more insight into what it is you do as a community leader and some of the initiatives that you're involved in right now?
Sure. So, one program that I support, it's called MIPI, Minority Engineering Program of Indianapolis. We're a group of employees. We support 12th grade students, right? And we help them with resume writing, we help them with mock interviews, financial management, personal branding, professional branding. And with that same group of students, you invest time, invest energy, resources into those students, right? Because they're really the future, right? They're the ones who are going to be the young new engineers, young new business people of tomorrow, right? And if you don't invest in them and show them that, hey, these things are possible, sometimes you lose that potential, right? So that's one program that I support, mentoring that group of students in these different areas. And it's like a STEM program. So they all know that they're going to go to college and they're already like enrolled because remember it's 12th grade right before you go to college. They're already enrolled in their STEM degrees, but we have a bunch of STEM professionals there driving them, molding them, guiding them in that direction. So that's one program that I support. Another one is an internship program where we have students from a variety of community, like partners, community programs, nonprofits that we hire so that they have that work experience even before they go to college, right? So that's another area that I support in the community where you create those opportunities for not just anyone, but you kind of have your target audience, right? Could be students who might not have all the resources to get there, to do it, to succeed and excel in their education or in their work life. But if you're in a position where you could create those opportunities, do it. So I support that as well. Probably one more I could say because there's so many. I would say probably my paint sessions. So I do that in the community as well, where I do art. I love art, but doing it with a group of people where you're able to like share that talent with them, learn from them, have them be in that creative, self-expressive mode, also brings joy to you because you know you could do it with someone and share it with a group. So I do that in the community as well, where it's a chance for people to network because the people who register for that like paint and sip session, they don't know each other,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's an opportunity for them to network, an opportunity for them to be creative, like hear good music, have good finger food, and just paint. So I do that in the community as well. That's just a few.
Okay. Sounds like you're doing a lot and you're very busy, but thank you very much for some of those things that you're doing, especially with young people, because I think it's important for them, as we've said, to see someone who've walked the experience and had the experience. So um, that's great that you're doing it. Keep it up, and I hope that the young people are taking full advantage of those, services that you provide. That's great. So let's just switch back a little to international students. What would be your overarching piece of advice? I mean, other than the fact that you mentioned that networking is important and you said that you would advise each student to network at some point and be willing to do that, what other advice would you offer to students who may be more interested, international students, in getting into mechanical engineering specifically? Maybe how can they prepare themselves from even before they look to make that journey or fill out that application to come to the US, or things that they can do to just prepare themselves and know what to expect? What advice would you offer to these students?
Um, I would say like connect with some of the alumni because they have all the PDFs for the books that you're going to be using. So that's one resource you could use, right? Connect with them where you could have like your textbooks, right? That's one. Connect with them so you could have probably some past papers, right? Past exams that you could go through so you see how the questions are structured. It might not be the same questions, obviously, but you have an idea of what the structure of that exam looks like,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I would say do that. Also meet with your advisor, right? Because I know in the engineering department we have like an advisor. I'm sure all the departments do, but we have ours, and like you could meet with them and just sort of plan out your 4 year program or how many years you want to do it for. Plan it out so you see which classes make sense to do in a certain semester, or over the summer. Plan that out. Um, uh, what advice would I give? I would say don't overload yourself because you're coming from, let's say, different background, different culture, right? Where we do things a certain way. But then you're coming here where you might have to fend for yourself if you don't understand something. You might have to take longer hours on YouTube trying to learn a topic because you have so many other things to do, right? So don't overload yourself thinking like in the first semester, and that's what I did. Think you could do like 7, 8 courses all at once, like back to back to back to back, right? Because like back home, like you have a full day of school, right? Full day of classes a lot of time. Come here, it's a different level of intensity with a full day of classes. Trust me. So knowing not to overload yourself is important before you even like start that journey, especially that first semester.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say that. What else would I say to someone who's going to do that engineering degree? Um, I would say knowing the impact of failing a class is very important because sometimes if you fail one class, you have an extra year added to your whole program, right? Because it's not offered the next semester. It's only offered for that semester every year. So I feel like engineering students or all students like know the impact of what your grade is gonna look like, right? And I think yeah, that might be the the main thing I would say.
All right, that's a very comprehensive list of things that I think students can learn from. So thank you very much for offering that advice because, I mean, there's a lot to know, and that's why we do what we're doing because we kind of want to give students a reasonable level of expectation as to what it is like to be an international student. And we don't want them to have this false impression that it's just a walk in the park and, you could just stroll through. Based on what majors you're doing, there is a certain level of challenge that is going to come with it. So just have those expectations and know from the very beginning that's what you're getting yourself into, and you know how much it takes to commit. And as you said, I really like the advice of not overloading yourself and doing too much, because sometimes, you come from a different situation and you feel like you're invincible. And then reality strikes and you're like, man, I'm not doing as well as I should in all of my classes because I'm just doing too much. So that is good advice. So thank you very much for offering those words of advice. And I hope that young people listening would take those into consideration. So what is next for Kimberly? What's Kimberly going to be doing next? What new venture are you getting into? Is there something that piqued your interest recently that you're like, you know what, I'm going to try that?
Um, uh, I would say what is next for me is continuing that path of having an impact in whatever I do. I think that's very important for me. So continuing that path of being able to have an influence, right? Being able to share advice, share wisdom, share my experience, right? On a large scale, whether it's with, let's say, an organization, whether it's with a community, right? But continuing on that path of being like a global leader where you could impact lives in the engineering space, impact lives in the, let's say, education space where you're grooming students to be successful, impact lives in the creative space of art. So I want to continue doing that and probably even expand in those areas. And in addition to that, I'm also open to whatever else might get my interest over in a few years' time, right? Because again, I'm open, right? So it's not like, oh, that's my path and I have to just stick to that path. No, like you have to know when to pivot when you no longer have like an interest in a certain area and then you want to try something new. So I'm also looking forward to what new will interest me in the future.
Okay. All right. So I typically like to ask this question at the end just to kind of give people an insight into the fact that someone can be as productive as you are doing all these things that you're doing, but yet still there's this balance that you need to find. So my last question for you would be, what do you do for fun or just to relax? Just to kind of like, take the stress off.
So I like the adrenaline rush. So for balance, in addition to everything that we spoke about today, right? I like having like that bucket list where you could look forward to taking things off of it, like skydiving. I've done that one. Like bungee jumping, done that one. Like swimming with the sharks, I've done that one. So I feel like that's a good balance, right? So you're doing everything that you might already enjoy, but what gets you there, right? What's that little thrill that you look forward to? So I say for me, having that bucket list of adventurous, extreme, like activities helps me balance it.
Well, I think my assessment of you from the very first time I saw you when I said Kimberly's very open and she's just easy to get along with and very that there says it all. Swimming with the sharks, skydiving, all the type of stuff. Sorry, not on my bucket list, but that's yours. All right. So, thank you very much for spending the time with me today, Kimberly, to talk about your experience as an international student and specifically as a mechanical engineer and a math minor. And I think there's a lot to learn from what you've said. And I hope that students listening and potential students would be more enthused about the idea of studying and pursuing their degrees. And hopefully, the work that you're doing also in the community would have a great impact on the young people that you're interacting with on a daily basis. So, once again, thank you very much for joining me for this conversation, and I look forward to another one sometime.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me, Timon.
All right, so for those of you who joined and listened to this conversation, thank you very much for joining. If you wish to learn more about Global Ed Recruiting Agency and the work that we do with international students, send us an email at globaledrecruitingagency@gmail.com, or you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Global Ed Recruiting. So once again, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for supporting Global Ed Recruiting Agency. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.